Yo, what's up guys? New video and finally a new dungeon guide. It's been really long since I did a new dungeon guide, and it actually comes from a video that I will be posting tomorrow where I have all of the dungeons runed up at the same time. And for that I actually wanted to lower the rune difficulty for some of the dungeons that I'm running. And to be honest, this team, I've already showcased this team because I made this team like I think 2-3 years back, and it was just this team or Vertricaru, whereas Vertricaru took you like 45-50 seconds and this team took you like 22-23 seconds. So there's a really big gap, but the biggest gap was, okay, I cannot make the Julie to one-shot. Julie one-shotting was insanely difficult, and it still is. And would you say like, hey, this is exactly the same team, what changed? Well, this Julie is not one-shotting. I actually on purposely removed a artifact to show that Julie is not one-shotting, but I did something different to this homunculus. This homunculus has a different build, and I'll showcase the build in a second, but let's let it run, and then I can explain what's the difference. So normal homunculus has everything based on dots, but this homunculus actually has the AoE on skill 3. And the AoE on skill 3 applies by perfect AI by Julie not one-shotting, but having damage for enough to actually do it. Technically, I'm already doing more damage than is needed, because if you almost clear the left and the right unit, you're already good to go. So you actually don't need that much damage on a Julie at all to run this. And as you can see, this is a crazy amount of time without a Julie one-shotting. This is legit twice as fast, or maybe even more than twice as fast than your Vertricaru team. And sure, I could maybe tune it down a bit of seeing like, okay, can I do this with like worse rune quality and worse rune quality and worse rune quality? But to be honest, I feel like this can run on pretty low rune quality because there's a lot of failsafes, there's a lot of dots, there's a lot of damage. And these runes, because I made that video earlier, which will be posted later, I'm not using any of the runes that are on my R5. So I'm actually excluding a whole bunch of very good runes to build this team. Sure, I have my Icarus on 5 runes, but you can actually lower that rune quality as well. But as you can see, I've been running this for quite a bit right now, and it is 25-second average or something like that. It's super nice. It's just very chill. And there's actually something that I could test, but didn't really want to test because it's somewhat expensive to keep switching this build. But that is changing his skill to the other skill, because this skill is an AoE skill. And I thought at first, if he AoEs, because it's very likely for him to AoE over here. If he AoEs, he actually triggers this left, what's it called? Tower. If he triggers the left tower, it will cleanses the boss right away. I thought that might be an issue, but that's actually not a big issue at all, because if he cleanses, all of the dots that you land afterwards will actually go towards the boss for hitting it. So I'm currently out of spaces, so therefore it's not running the full thing. But as you can see, 24-second average, that's insane. So let's look at the homunculus build. What's the big difference about this build and why does it work? So normally the build I have is still this dots. This is by far the best skill that you can do for it. 4 times with a 50% chance. Very good odds to land dots. Then before that I actually had this skill, which had the slow and the branding, which does a lot more damage on the boss, because the slower he is, the more damage he takes. And then I had the skill, which was again, I think it was this one, which is more continuous damage. But in this case, we don't do that. We need this skill. So we need the AoE hit, and this is actually the only AoE hit from the 3 or from the 4 skills. So we need this AoE hit. Therefore, we have to choose one of these 2 skills. So I went for the top one, thinking it was not an AoE, but it is actually an AoE. This one is not an AoE, and that's actually boosting his attack bar as well. It might be that this skill is slightly faster, but to be honest, I think it doesn't really matter which one of the 2 you pick. It still very much works. So yeah, I definitely recommend to go for this homunculus. It's amazing. So let's look at the rune quality that I put in it, and what kind of runes are these using, and what kind of runes I recommend to use. So we have the Julie. This Julie has a pretty crazy set, but it misses a full artifact. So with that, you just put more additional damage. You don't want to go that high on crit damage and that kind of stuff. You kind of want to go for high attack and then additional damage on attack. This is also like a pretty shit artifact for it. So I'm pretty much doing this like legit. I'm pretty sure if I would say Julie, we go for artifacts, we remove both artifacts. Yes sir, we apply that. We go both no artifacts, we go in. Let's see if this works. I'm pretty confident that this still like, so yep, still works. There's actually a weird thing with that skill 3 where the animation lands on one first and then the other. I don't even know why, but yeah, still works. That's nothing changes. I have if I can do it without artifacts, you should be able to do it. If you are thinking about building this team, you have to like and subscribe right now. That's something that is a must as well. But yeah, as you can see, there's just so much good stuff going on. And then, yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff. Even if that one dies, doesn't really matter. At some point, there's just more dots. And even if it becomes a very slow run, which happens from time to time, at some point you team up or you just put more dots and you're just good to go. So, okay, looking at runes. Okay, so what do you put on the homunculus? The homunculus wants to have double shield, 100%. You want to put damage on him too. So mine is attack, crit damage, attack. It has pretty decent, good set, I would say. But you definitely want to have the double shield because your crow is going to be tanking. Your crow, you want to put as much damage on as possible. So therefore, you want to put the shields on this one. Or you want to put your shields on the Icarus. It's also possible to say like, okay, my Icarus are fight, which I'll show in a second. You can put like a shield fight will, or you can put like shield broken will, something along the lines of that. And that way it also totally works. But I definitely have at least 2 shield sets in your whole team. I fixed it in the homunculus in this case. And then for artifacts, I put some damage from light, damage on light. And then in this one, it's just additional stuff. Technically, if you want to have your S3 for the maximum amount of damage, you want to have a crit damage skill 3 in this. And that will help out that he can like second shot the wave. And you 100% need will runes on it. Then we have the Icarus. My Icarus are willed. You need to have them willed. Also, everything needs to be above 170 combat speed, which is, if I'm not mistaken, a 153 or 154 for Icarus. Everything has to be above 154, if I'm not mistaken. So for that reason, you have that. Then we also have these with just additional damage, co-op damage, any of that good stuff. It doesn't really matter what kind of stats the Icarus have. As long, well, accuracy also doesn't really matter because you probably need like 10 accuracy and you're good to go because you already have accuracy lead in this. So yeah, and then the fight runes, it helps out for the extra damage, but it's not a must as far as I know. Then this one is also a double fighter, pretty much same style. And then we have the crow. Crow in my case is 100% crit rate. You do not need 100% crit rate. I have 100% crit rate crow because I use the exact same crow in GB 12. Therefore, my crow is still 100% crit rate. Once again, you don't need that. So in this case, I have damage on light. This thing doesn't even work. It's just damage on light and then crit damage skill 3. And then you still want to be a slightly bit of tanky. So I think this is the lowest speed you can put on the crow. Someone's asking for the Julie speed. Julie speed has to be faster than the rest of the team. So it doesn't have to have a specific speed as long as it's faster than the rest of the team. So if this one is like, let's say 150, you need more than 150. If Julie is 151 and everything else is in between, it's fine. So that is pretty much all there is to it. So technically this is easier to rune, of course, if you make it 85 crit rate. In my case, I didn't want to do that because I want to use these units over for like other things. And also these Icarus are used in both NB, GB, and all of that other stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it for this video. It's a pretty short one. But this team is very nice. I think this is legit one of the best teams I've seen for PvE, but also improving people's PvE time in a very, very long time. Because I really feel like a lot of people can't do this. No artifacts on Julie. Yeah, I put no artifacts on Julie to show that you don't need a good Julie. That's like, to be honest, yes, put artifacts on your Julie, but I just showed it that you don't really need it. So in this case, run does go a slightly bit worse. Well, actually, same as the other one. Does Julie need artifacts? No, it actually doesn't change anything. But yeah, the run can go slightly bit worse. Let's go for another run because it's actually curious. I haven't seen runs going this bad like at all yet. And now it seems to be going pretty bad. But this can technically happen with the other team as well. It was not 100% as well. It's pretty close to 100%. But this goes somewhat slower. Let's go for another run. Let's see how that works. The S1 can actually provide so many dots. It's also very dependent, like, okay, how many dots did he actually provide? How many team-ups were with the homunculus and that kind of stuff. So that is kind of an RNG factor. So in this case, there's a lot more debuffs, but not fully to instantly clear. But it already helps a lot more than what it previously did. Okay, I think Julie normally is a lot better of a cleanup on her damage because she has additional damage artifacts. So I would say additional damage artifacts here are a pretty big factor, even more than having a lot of crit damage. So that's actually a good thing to keep in mind, is that the additional damage artifacts on Julie actually make it that at some point she gets her S3 up again. She will use her, what's her skill, like the what's the name? 1,000 shots. 6, but that sounds cool on 1,000, I guess. But yeah, she will get that skill up, and if she uses that skill and has a lot of additional damage artifacts, it does, of course, a lot more damage to the boss rather than this shit currently where she has 0 artifacts and then does absolutely no damage to the boss. Also, all of the team-ups that happen here with Julie are a lot less strong because of no additional damage artifacts. So that is definitely a good thing to keep in mind. Your additional damage artifacts, especially by attack, are highly going to determine how well this run will do. So once again, definitely, you could probably even, if you have a good crit rate slot 4, you could probably even say crit rate slot 4, attack, or even go like, if you can make it full on just like a lot of attack and you remove the crit damage altogether, I still recommend to go 100 crit rate. But you could technically just go triple attack if you have a good slot 4 attack. Most people won't because people sell that. Me too. But yeah, that's definitely an option. And then definitely you want to have some artifacts, something along the line of this, together with somewhere. If you have like these two combined, this is definitely going to like do a lot of damage on the side or like on everything. So definitely go for this additional damage artifact. So yeah, that's all there is for it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. And tomorrow I will have the video of showcasing all of the dungeon teams ruined at the same time, and how that works out, which kind of units I use, which kind of units I also have like overlapping, and therefore you don't have to ruin too many units. But I still want to keep it in a fast environment. I don't just want to Virtuikaru everything and just make it slow and that kind of stuff. So definitely check out that video for tomorrow. And I think the day after tomorrow, I will have like a showcase of like, okay, how do I determine in the optimizer where I rune stuff, how I check my stuff. If anyone wants to do some like dungeon, like prepping by themselves or anything like that, or just in general, like optimizer stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you will subscribe to the channel and check out these videos for tomorrow and the day after as well. And have a great day.